This is PTV World. I am Syed SHABAHAT and you're watching Fault Lines. On Tuesday, Tehreek-e-Jihad Pakistan stormed into a compound where Pakistan militaries personnel were present, 23 of which got martyred and another 30 were seriously wounded. This attack is very surprising because recently, in just last 2 months, we have seen back-to-back attacks in this area, in the district of Dera Ismail Khan and the areas nearby. Let me give you a countdown of the events that have taken place during last 2 months. On October 28th, one policeman was killed in Dera Ismail Khan in a militant attack. November 3rd, 2023, Dera Ismail Khan bomb blast killed 10 people. Another 35 were wounded. Gwadar ambush also took place surprisingly on 3rd November as well, where 14 soldiers were martyred. November 4th, PF base was attacked at Kamra, killing 20 security personnel. And on November 29th, Lucky Mervat saw another attack quite close to the same area. 11 personnel were killed in this attack, another 25 were wounded. This reminds us the stuff that we discussed a couple of weeks ago, that Afghanistan is still serving as a jumping board for all these militants. Whether it is TTP or any other brand name, most of these elements are operating from Afghanistan, coming in, hitting security forces persistently every time and going back. Pakistan has tried its level very best to take up the matter diplomatically, but so far the situation has remained out of control. I have invited a guest to speak on this subject. In studio, I'm joined by Brigadier Retired Masood Ahmed Khan Saab, who will help us to understand what exactly is happening in the adjoining areas of Dera Ismail Khan and its surrounding. Sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Help us to understand the background of this attack that has taken place. Particularly, we are seeing a new brand name this time, TJP. TTP has refused to take the ownership of this assault under their own brand name.
TJP is not the first time they have claimed this attack. Basically, if you recall, the attack which was executed in Muslim Bagh and in Zob was also claimed by Tehreek-e-Jihad Pakistan. And yesterday, the attack which was carried out in the police station in Tonk area, that was claimed by Tehreek-Ansarul Jihad. There is yet another faction which has claimed the responsibility. So basically, these are the diversionary names. Basically, it is TTP. Just to distract the people from main TTP, they are claiming these are basically, you can call them the faction, the groups of the TTP. They are operating on behalf of TTP. As far as DI Khan is concerned, DI Khan is located strategically. It connects 3 provinces. If you see the map, in the north of DI Khan, there is a Lucky Mervat and then Tonk in the north, and to the east it is the Indus River and the Bakkar of Punjab, and to the west it is South Waziristan, and if you go to the south, it is the Zob division, district Sherani, and we saw in previously there was there were several attacks in Sambaza and Zob areas. So that is the importance. Basically, it is the closest to the South Waziristan, and anybody from Paktika, Afghanistan, they can enter into South Waziristan, can infiltrate, and easily they can come to this place. So that's why this has been targeted in the past. There have been several attacks in Dia Khan, in Durban area, Darzinda area, and also in the Tonk area. So that is the importance. So the attack, this was claimed, is basically a diversionary tactics of TTP, and they are operating from Afghanistan.
But the timing of this attack is also quite surprising now. Yeah. It is happening at the brinks of Chief of Army Staff's first tour to the United States, where he's meeting the Defense Minister of the US as well. And also the fact that these attacks, again, as you recall, Muslim Bagh and Job, I remember Job faced back-to-back 2 attacks in 2 days on the cantonment.
Exactly.
And again, we are seeing back-to-back attacks. Once it took place in Tank, and then it's taking place in Dera Ismail Khan. So what do you make of the timing of all of this?
Basically, the surge we saw, basically when Afghan Taliban took over, basically if we recall, there was 86% reduction in terrorist activities in Pakistan in 2020 and 21. The day after taking over of Afghanistan by Afghan Taliban, there was a surge of terrorist attack by 60%. In 2020, there were 49 terrorist attacks against Pakistan. 2021, there were around 200 attacks. 2022, there were 239 attacks, and this year alone, there are around 320 terrorist attacks. All these attacks, they emanated from Afghanistan. And subsequently, and these attacks, as claimed by the so-called these diversionary groups of Taliban, by TTP basically, and unfortunately the Afghan Taliban, as we expected them to crack down on them, but they are not willing to crack down on this TTP because of various reasons. We can discuss it subsequently. And that's why basically a free run and a free hand is given to the Afghan, these TTP elements. They are operating from the safe havens inside Afghanistan. But the Pakistan has already furnished irrefutable evidence of their location, evidences, their location of their leaders, and from the bases from where they are getting training, from the places from where they are getting the suicide training, especially in the areas of Nuristan, Kunar, Paktika, and probably it was Khost. These are the center of activities, and we have seen recently attacks originate starting from Chatral. If you go down to Pasni, so all the attacks, all they are originating from Afghanistan.
You said Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan does not have a will or lacks a will.
Yeah.
And here is where most of the critics divided. I mean, their opinion stands divided. Some believe they don't have will, some believe they do not have capacity. It's just not possible for them to extend their muscle in all these areas and to root out all these elements. Which school of thought would you belong to?
They have the capacity to control them. That is no issue. Basically, TTP, they have allegiance to Tehreek-e-Taliban Afghanistan. So they are known as the brother in arms, two sides of the same coin. So therefore, there is no issue. They have of the same school of thought. So therefore, they follow the orders or the decrees given by the spiritual leader of Taliban. So that is the fact. If Taliban, they are sincere, I am talking of Afghan Taliban, one fatwa, one decree by Mullah Hebatullah Akhundzada declaring TTP cross-border attacks as haram, you will see the results. But they are not doing it intentionally. They are using these TTP elements as a bargaining chip, as a bet leverage against Pakistan, to blackmail Pakistan, to exert pressure on Pakistan by using these TTP elements. We have already provided, the international community is on board. And look, if you recently, Tom West, the special envoy of United States on Afghanistan issue, he was in Pakistan. He has made several times the statement that the TTP is getting strength inside Afghanistan, and the attacks they are directing specifically against Pakistan, and according to him, the real threat is real from Afghanistan. Similarly, the United States special envoy, probably the representative in United Nations, Linda Thomas probably, and she also said of the threat which is now getting stronger with every passing day in Afghanistan, not only threatening Pakistan but in the region as well as the international community. So the international community understands, the Americans being the stakeholders, the Doha Accord, where the Afghan Taliban made a commitment and pledge that they will ensure that the Afghan soil will not be used for the terrorist activities. But unfortunately, the threat is real. There are 17 terrorist organizations, the focus of which they are focusing on Pakistan, including TTP is factions, and then Islamic State as well as other groups, even Al-Qaeda. So the threat is real. So international community, the Americans, they understand the threat.
Pakistan is also asserting its diplomatic pressure, particularly by virtue of sending these expatriates back. The people who were living without any identification are being sent back. And this process goes on, and it's adding into the economic miseries of TTA as well. Do you think it is primarily one of the reasons why TTP is changing brand names, as you have highlighted, TII and TJP?
Yeah.
Is this because of the fact that TTA is also facing the brunt of a displeased Pakistan?
So, before coming over to this deportation of illegal Afghans, some of the steps which were taken by the government of Pakistan after the decision which was taken on 3rd October this year, that was crackdown on smuggling. That was one important thing. Second, then the concept of one document regime, streamlining Afghan transit trade, at the same time closing all illegal trade routes, and then deporting illegal Afghan nationals. We are basically hosting about around 4.4 million Afghans. Out of these 4.4 million, 2.3 millions are basically, they are documented Afghans, so nobody is touching them. So, we are only dealing with illegal Afghans. The strength, according to European Asylum Agency, they are around 1.7 million. So, our focus is on them. So, we hosted them for generously for about 44 years now. So, now in Afghanistan there is a peace, there is a stability, the dollar is around 84 rupees, and their exports are getting stronger with every passing day, and they claim being the Islamic state. So, therefore, they must welcome and they accommodate these Afghan nationals inside Afghanistan. So, one of the basic factors, the deadline which was given by the government of Pakistan, that was on 31st October. So, in the month of November, we saw a real surge of terrorist attacks in the month of November, where it was in Chatral, then in the tribal districts of the South Waziristan, North Waziristan, then in Tak, in Di Khan, and also in Sambaza. So, this was basically a reaction to the deporting of illegal Afghan. Basically, when we are deporting and we are basically streamlining everything in the interest of the country. So, basically these steps were not well received across Afghanistan. So, that is why they are trying to demonstrate their power by carrying out the terrorist attack inside inside Pakistan. So, the Afghan government is basically, as far as I am concerned, they are basically on board, if not all of them, but those of working with the intelligence officials, they are on board, and especially the Indian agency RAW, basically they are the main string pullers basically. And if you see at the timing as you said, and also the selection of targets especially, which says a lot about the Indian involvement. Previously in the last 20 years, when the Karzai and Ashraf Ghani, they were ruling Afghanistan. So, virtually it was the RAW which was running Afghan government, and there was 66 training camps across Afghanistan specifically against Pakistan. So, the proxies now they are using TTP and other factions, and in Balochistan basically there is a concept of BROS. They have gathered all the Baloch militants under BROS. Then they made a consortium of terrorist organization joining BROS with TTP, and now there is a likely alliance in the Baloch belt, where the Baloch militant groups like Majid Brigade, they are also joining TTP. So, there is basically the threat is basically real, and it is gaining strength, and the Indians, they are fully utilizing these their proxies.
But as you have said, you are quite optimistic about the way Afghan economy is. I might have different views on it, but 75% of trade that Afghanistan is doing through Pakistan. Be these the imports, be these the exports, these are being done through Pakistan. And a Pakistan that is not happy, that is increasingly getting angry and furious, that is also considering other options instead of only reacting to the attacks once they have taken place, might make it difficult for TTA to manage the country. So, do you believe sanity will prevail eventually? Do you have such expectations from TTA that eventually they'll realize that they have other businesses to do other than spreading terrorism in the neighboring country?
I entirely agree with you. The Afghanistan, they are totally dependent on Pakistan by all means, whether it is Afghan transit trade and other things. So we are basically, otherwise we being neighbor, we are linked together. So they are totally dependent on Pakistan. So anything, and I'm sure, of course, with the passage of time, sanity will prevail and they will understand, because if they continue with these activities, if they allow these proxies to develop and gain strength, look, TTP and there are 17, they are basically, their focus is Pakistan. Recently there is Tehreek-e-Taliban Tajikistan. Now their focus is on Tajikistan. Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan is the focus on Uzbekistan. Eastern Turkestan Islamic movement, they are basically focusing on China, and then there is a group for Jandullah focusing on Iran, and there are basically threat to the region is real, and beside them Al-Qaeda and Daesh, their scope, their targets are international. So therefore, but if they will not crack down on them, nobody is going to recognize Afghanistan as a independent sovereign country, and ultimately they are going to be on the left side, and basically they will face the problems in the subsequent time, in times to come. And moreover, their assets already which has been freezed, and they will get more sections. So it is up to the Afghan government to basically to fulfill the commitment which they made to the international community according to the resolution of United Nations Security Council, and commitment which they made to the collective security organization of Central Asia and regional countries as well as Pakistan, China and Russia. So they are hopefully, and recently I think with the passage of time they will understand. If they will not understand, then they are going to have problems to.
So as you said, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Iran, Pakistan,
yeah,
and to some extent China, all are facing the problems due to the scenarios that have changed, let me say, and I'll seek your comments on a news that was aired a while ago on PT World, that Pakistan's representatives in the United Nations have expressed their extreme concerns about the use of sophisticated weapon. Since you have served in the army as well, do you believe this additional amount of sophisticated weapons has become the only strong factor that the Taliban have in their hand, and because of which they are trying to increase their geostrategic significance in the region by doing all of the above that you just listed?
Exactly. Look, when the Americans they were exiting Afghanistan, it is on the record the reports which were carried by Foreign Policy magazine, in even New York Times, Al Jazeera. Americans they left weapons and equipment worth $7.12 billion in Afghanistan. And the Al Jazeera they have given exact figures: 61,000 vehicles, thousands of heavy weapons, and about 3 lakh light weapons. And similarly, New York Times also carried this. And look, today when they are attacking Pakistan's facilities, like it was D.I. Khan, it was Zob or Muslim Bagh, they were carrying these used weapons. They were in position of M4, M16, and beside that night vision devices. So they have the added capability.
Said night vision and also the thermal weapons.
Thermal, yes, of course, and
used.
snipers with latest technology. So they have got an edge now, they can operate and they can take individuals by sniping. So that is very unfortunate part of it, and Pakistan has raised this very important issue. And today if you Afghanistan, according to Foreign Policy magazine, the Afghan Taliban they have become arms traders and they are earning billions of dollars. Today in south of Afghanistan, in the east of Afghanistan, there are weapons market. Panjwai is famous for these weapons. So anybody can go and purchase these weapons. So they have also equipped the TTP with these weapons. So that's why when the Taliban, unfortunately, when they took over, so there basically initially they released 8,000 hardcore militants who were jailed by the previous governments. So they were released, they were allowed to roam about in Afghanistan freely, and they basically, that was the time they got the time to regroup, reorganize, and they got fresh recruitments, and also they were equipped with these latest weapons, and they started with the first attack. That was in December 2022 when they targeted a mosque inside police line in Peshawar. So that was the start of attacks, and subsequently, and there is no end. But generally, one thing I would like to clear here, that somebody, they are trying to equate the present situation with that of 2010 and 2015. So there is a lot of difference. Basically 2010 and 2015, this erstwhile FATA was under Taliban control. Almost 62% was under Taliban. The people, the locals, they were internally displaced. Today this situation is not like that, and these people are there in their houses, they are living, and basically operations are intelligence based. In this year alone, 2023, over 24,000 intelligence based operations were carried out, and 550 terrorists, they were killed, the highest number after 2016. So that is the success and the contribution.
Masood Sahab, I would want to draw your attention to a very important and pertinent thing that you just highlighted in the beginning. You said you still are suspecting the involvement of Indian hand.
Yeah,
you articulated it very rightly. And you also mentioned that there were 66 consulates operating alongside the border of Pakistan. Now, don't you think India is taking an advantage of the situation and trying to create a scenario where Pakistan is left with no other choice but to perhaps take a step forward? I would not articulate it any further, but to take a step forward. As I have said, Pakistan's response so far has been just reactionary. We just cannot anticipate when the next wave of attack will come. So don't you think it's another attempt to engage us with a neighboring country that we have never militarily engaged with in the past?
That is you are very right, and this is what India is trying to do over for lives right from 1947. And when they developed diplomatic relations with Afghanistan, and subsequently after 1968 when RAW was basically established, and then thereon, and they tried to fix Pakistan from east as well as from west. NDS and RAW, they were together. And basically India is there's a book, My Enemy is Enemy. So there is a mention of Lalit Mansingh, who was Indian Foreign Secretary from 1999 to 2001, and he made a statement. He said, when Pakistan was getting out of control, we formed Afghanistan to fix Pakistan, to keep them on their toes. So they tried to use Afghanistan against Pakistan. So there are 101, I can give examples of Indian involvement using Afghanistan against Pakistan. But still they are trying, although they don't have any diplomatic relation, but they have these sleeper cells, they have these sympathizers inside Afghanistan. And look, they are trying to seize every opportunity to destabilize Pakistan, so stir trouble inside Pakistan from Afghanistan, at the same time trying to engage with Taliban by giving a soft image. So that is how, so we cannot trust India as well as any other country. As a sovereign country, we must go as per the decisions taken by the government of Pakistan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khan Sahab, for being guest in our show. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break and we'll join you back with second segment of the program. Stay with us. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Ever since COVID-19 came into the line of sight, it changed the lives of the people. And even today, when we are not facing the real brunt of COVID, which we have faced in the past, influenza is on the rise again, not only in Pakistan but also in many neighboring countries. According to WHO's recent report, not only Pakistan but India, Thailand, China, and many other countries are seeing a rise in the cases of influenza. WHO also wants the countries that I have just listed to add further in the surveillance, to add the laboratory testing, to also accelerate the vaccination process. And that said, many people around us in Islamabad, as of now when we are doing this show live, are caught by influenza. To talk further about this very pertinent health issue, I have requested Dr. SYED Khan, who is a medical expert. Dr. SYED is PhD postdoctorate from University of Washington. He's professor of pathology at Dove University of Health Sciences. Dr. SYED Khan, I welcome you to the show.
Thank you, SHABAHAT, for inviting me to your show.
Doctor, what's the situation of influenza in Pakistan? Though generally we see a rise in the cases of influenza in winters, but the situation is slightly worrying here in this part of the country.
Thank you for inviting me on this very important topic. Pakistan usually have a different pattern of diseases, particularly in the winter season. We have respiratory infection and the virus, particularly the influenza cases on rise. We just end up with the COVID, and in the winter we have different respiratory infections. And this time the influenza has a little bit different pattern because this virus is continuously changing virus. Every year it's bring more changes in its genome, and the unfortunate part in this issue is we don't have that much vaccination pattern in Pakistan. People don't get vaccinated like Western countries. They usually before winter they have their flu shot, and every year they have this vaccination get done. But unfortunately in Pakistan we don't have this flu vaccine that common. People don't follow properly the vaccination. So this year again, like other respiratory infection, and we have quite severe infections, particularly in children. They get quite severe, and unfortunately we again fail to predict and diagnose on time. So we need to be careful, particularly those school-going children who are going to schools. We need to take care of them because in school particularly the transmission is increased because the children they sit together and it transmit from one person to another person. So this is quite a devastating situation in Pakistan. And
Dr. SYED, the situation is also similar in neighboring countries as I listed out, and let me read this list again. Nepal, Thailand, India, China, as well as Pakistan is facing the similar situation. Is it a disease that spreads just like COVID used to do? I mean, it was infecting from people who are, people traveling abroad were infecting each other, and we had a lot of restrictions on international traveling. A lot of documentation was required. Every country was operating with a different regime of documentation. So is it the same way that influenza's virus also get transmitted from one country to another?
Yes, it transmit close contact, but unlikely the COVID, which was extremely a new virus, and the influenza virus is an old virus and keep on happening in different places, but it get mutated or evolve within the community while transmitting. So we need to have a strong surveillance, and we need to check particularly on the borders. Same as we did in COVID. So the same spirit need to be done, and the government need to be alert, and the health department particularly, they need to check on the airports, particularly if we have new strains. The old strain that hardly affect that much, but when the new strains arise and it's come with different reason, a lot of flu viruses coming from animals as well, like we have swine flu or we have these bird flu. So the mixing with the animal influenza, then we get a new strain, and then get severely affect the population. So the surveillance needs to be properly alert, and the health department need to take action, and international community play a vital role, particularly the role of WHO is very much important. It need to be alert, and its early response is required, because sometimes the WHO, they become late or slow in responding, and that the disease gets severe. So in these countries that you are mentioned, they have already taken some steps, but we need to be careful internationally. At the airports, particularly when people are coming from abroad, they may get sick with symptoms, so we need to isolate them before they spread the infection in Pakistan.
Doctor, you had a very instrumental role when the COVID vaccination was being finalized by the government of Pakistan, and we interviewed you several times during that time as well. Tell us, where are we on COVID, generally speaking? Is it formally over? Are we just done with it? And what about the vaccination program? Will it continue, or will it just discontinue, or what is going to happen? What will be the fate of vaccination in Pakistan?
The COVID is almost over, but it's not the end, because we never know that COVID may strike back as it's striking back in Western countries. The new variant of the Omicron that's on rise, and the vaccine played a role to the extent that minimize the symptom, but it's failed to stop the spread of the infection. So we need to be alert. Unfortunately, people are very cool and calm. They're not interested in vaccination, but we need to keep that instrument intact. The vaccination centers, the testing system, we need to utilize it for other diseases as well, and keep it intact for the COVID, because COVID may strike back with some new variant or strain. So we need not to be relaxed as we are now. Because diseases, they never over, they come with different shape. New viruses can be expected mixing with other strains of the COVID or other influenza viruses. So it's not one disease that we need to just get relaxed because it's over to some extent. We need to be alert all the time. This is what I suggest to the people as well, that they need to be careful, and they need to take the precaution, the SOPs, not only for COVID, but like the influenza, which is coming now. They are more or less the same mode of transmission. So we need to utilize that. People being educated in the COVID era, they should continue the same education in terms of SOP management and prevention of the diseases.
Thank you very much, Dr. Syed Khan, for being guest in our show. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Dr. Syed Khan, one of the leading experts on the subject, and he said a few things that I would want to recap before going further. He said that though we are not formally out of COVID, or since we are not formally out of COVID completely, we still need to follow the SOPs, particularly during the winter season, when the virus infections are already on the rise. He also mentioned about influenza that is rising not only in Pakistan but also in neighboring country, and he also said that such viruses are also transmitted when people are traveling from one country to another country. Unfortunately, he said Pakistan does not have a ready program for the vaccination of influenza. Let's quickly move on to the third topic of the show, and this is related to artificial intelligence. Ladies and gentlemen, ChatGPT-4 has entirely changed the landscape of the world of IT. The children in school are now using ChatGPT-4 for doing their assignments. Particularly, Microsoft has done a great thing, that they have opened up ChatGPT-4 for every user of its website, which is called Bing. Now, anyone getting onto Bing.com can give any number of commands to ChatGPT for any assignment that has 4,000 characters more or less. But Google, the main rival of Microsoft, has come up with a surprise. It's called Google Gemini. Now, what this Gemini does will be discussed by our experts, but remember that Google is the company that has been leading the entire landscape of IT industry in the world, and even today, Google's main page gets maximum number of hits in the world. What Google is trying to do with this new software, with this new AI software, how is it going to give challenge or tough time to ChatGPT-4? We have invited a guest in the show who will tell us more about it. His name is Dr. Kashif Qureshi. Dr. Kashif is a cyber security expert joining me from Ireland. He is an associate professor of cyber security in Department of Electronic and Computer Engineering at the University of Limerick, Ireland. He is active researcher in field of AI and cybersecurity. His name includes in top 2% scientists as listed by Stanford University of United States of America. Dr. Kashif, such a pleasure to have you in our show.
Thanks for having me today. I'm really excited to talk about the AI and how it is changing the way we live and work in so many different ways. First of all, thank you for bringing attention to the new technologies like AI and the Chat GPT and Gemini and how they can be used in different areas. I appreciate your choice of today's topic, which is interesting and relevant. It is going to be helpful for young people and the businesses folks.
Dr. Kashif, tell us from the onset, I mean, what exactly this Google Gemini is or Gemini is, and how does it become different than ChatGPT 4.0?
Okay, your question has two parts. What is Gemini and how does it differ from ChatGPT? So the Google has launched Gemini, a new artificial intelligence system that can understand and talk and capable of processing text, images, audio, and the video, computer code, and much more. This type of AI system is also known as a multimodal, and Gemini can understand the world around us in the way we do and absorb any type of input and output, not just text, but also code, audio, image, and video. So what's amazing about Gemini is that it is so good in so many things. Gemini is tested on 50 different subjects areas where human experts are best, like physics. It is used for the basic calculation to identify the patterns in physical data. Like in chemistry, it is used to identify the chemical compounds and predict their properties. Like in biology, it is used to identify the different types of cells and the tissues and understand their functions. So it is also used in math, in computer science, and it is also used for the basic scientific research. Uh, so yeah, it is also helpful for to translate the languages. So Gemini family of models that can run on everything from mobile devices to data centers, each of which is actually best in class. So as per the ChatGPT, on the other hand, it is excels at natural languages conversation and creative text generation, and a valuable tool for interactive storytelling and the content creation. It is basically designed for natural and the engaging conversations. Like for example, if I will just mention some examples here for the Chat GPT and Gemini, like for example, the popular applications for the Gemini are search engines, customer services, chatbots, and the personalized learning. Whereas the Chat GPT has the virtual assistants, interactive storytelling, and the content creation. So while both models are examples of generating generative AI, which learn to find patterns of input training, information to generate new data, the Chat GPT especially has a large language model which focuses on the producing text. So ultimately, the choice between Gemini and the Chat GPT depends on the specific needs and the requirement of the application. So both tools are large language models and developed by leading AI companies like Google and the OpenAI.
But Dr. Kashif, how this will affect the life of end users? Because we have seen many students, many researchers using ChatGPT 4, many content creators are using ChatGPT 4. It's quite easy to work with. You just give it a command and it does it as if it's a genie. Uh, The way you have told, Gemini looks to be something that will be used by experts, not a common man's thing. What do you say?
Yeah, the uses of this technology basically are diverse, and it will impact the various aspects of our lives. In terms of businesses, we will use this technology for for the students, like for internal search to find information across a company code base, documents, and other sources of data. And this can help employees save time and improve their productivity. It will use for the customer services to create the chatbots that can answer the customer questions and resolve issues. So this can help companies provide better customer services and reduce the burden on their call centers. It will useful for the content creation. Gemini can be used to generate the creative text formats like poems, code, scripts, music pieces, email, letters, and this can help companies to create more engaging and personalized content for their customers. It will also helpful for the research and the development to analyze the large data sets of text and code to identify the patterns and the insights. So this can help in the company and the research centers to make better decisions about their product and their services. It will also helpful for the financial services. Gemini is being used by banks to detect the fraud and the money laundering. Insurance companies are using Gemini to assess the risks and make better decisions. And it will also very good for the retail industry, for the healthcare industries, for the education industries. The Gemini is being used by schools to personalize learning experiences for students, and the universities are also using the Gemini to analyze student data and improve their academics outcomes. And as for the retail industry, so Gemini is being used by retailers to personalize product recommendations and the customer services. E-commerce companies, they will also use the Gemini to optimize their products and search and navigate. And retail chains are also using Gemini to analyze the customer data and improve the store layout and many things. Yeah, they will do
Dr.
by
Kashif,
using this. Yeah.
Dr. Kashif, given Pakistan's economic situation, given Pakistan being a country where we have most of our people are in the younger age bracket, and we have a very decent mobile penetration in the country and internet penetration in the country as well. How do you see this technology can help Pakistan to overcome its economic crisis, because we are looking towards switching our national income from the traditional industry to the information technology by use of such modern applications?
Yeah, as per the progressive economies around the world are finding the new ways to make the industries better and fix the big problems we all face and we have. The AI transforms industries, and it will provide the drive innovation, improve efficiency, and it will enhance the task processes as well. So the progressive economies are recognizing the AI for the predictive analytics to analyze the data and to predict the future events. So the many countries they have adopted the AI. Like if I will mention some of the examples here, like the Singapore is a global leader in AI adoption with a national AI strategy and their aim to make their country smart nation. And another example, we have the South Korea. Uh, they also adopted this technology. And one of the example I will share with you, that is South Korea is also home to a number of leading AI companies. They have the Samsung and the Nvidia, and they use the AI for their startups. The Finland is another example. They are using the AI to predict the risk of suicide and to provide the personalized education for students. Like in Canada, they also used this technology in healthcare sector and for the climate change as well. So we have a lot of examples. So these are just few examples of how progressive economies are using the AI to drive innovation and improve the lives of their citizens. Because the AI technology continues to develop, and we can expect to see even more innovative and the wide ranging applications of AI in the years to come. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kashif Qureshi, for being guest in our show. Ladies and gentlemen, this was my last guest in the show, Dr. Kashif Qureshi, who told us that Finland, Singapore, South Korea, and Canada have already started making use of Google Gemini to set the national direction in so many industries. They're also trying to use it for the areas that require more attention of the scientists, areas like climate change, areas like predicting suicide, areas like predicting the health problems that the patients have not faced so far. But when we talk about AI, there are so many fictions around this as well. And one of this is the fear that technology and the AI is a very good servant, but can be a very lethal master. We'll join you next week with another program. And until then, Allah Hafiz.